Inside Hockey. Brought to you by Viagra. Talk to your doctor.
Back to the Air Canada Centre we go, and Elliot Friedman. Elliot.
Well, Ron, you spent a few minutes in the hockey dressing room, and you can kind of tell who the really popular guys are. In Carolina, there's no doubt who's number one, Scott Walker. This is the time of Hockey Fights Cancer Initiatives, and nobody knows more about what that means than Scott and his wife, Julie.
It's been bugging me too.
Scott Walker may be a hard-edged hockey player, but around his wife, he's a softie. 20 years ago, he asked her out using a free dinner coupon he'd won for being player of the game. They've not been apart since. Is there a favorite game of Scott's that stands out for you that would be your best memory of watching him play?
Well, I think definitely Game 7 last spring against Boston when he scored the winning goal. You can't beat that moment. It was... I think that will definitely be the best moment that I'll always remember.
Scott Walker, his first career playoff goal is the overtime winner in Game 7.
It was just seemed justice.
You want good things to happen to good people, and you know, you pick. Sometimes you sit in your stall and you think, okay, who would you want to get a goal like that? And you know, he's played a long time and had a great career, but you know, probably that's his defining moment.
You look like you're almost tearing up now just the remembering that.
Well, you think about it, it's just, I know how emotional it is, you know, and like I said, for him to get that, I saw his family came to the airport at 2 in the morning when we landed, and you see them just, you know, hugging, and, you know, it's what it's all about, you know, that's one of the reasons you play this game, is to have chances to get to have those memories, and he's got them.
That goal ended the hardest 4 days of Scott Walker's life. In Game 5, he punched Aaron Ward, and the next morning, tests proved that Julie had cervical cancer.
The day the doctor sat us down was the actual day of my hearing with Coley Campbell. That morning, right after she got off the phone that she was having trouble, she said, "I know it's not good."
He and I had a conversation the day after I got traded, and you know, we're both adults and understanding the heat of competition, especially when you incorporate the ingredient of what was going on in his life at that time. The day that it happened was the day he found out about his wife. So I can understand as a recipient what it is that went on, or where his mind was at the time. And so beyond that, we just, you know, sleeping dogs lie.
It was Scott's longest run in the playoffs, so I was more concerned about interfering with that. I was so upset that I was kind of raining on the parade.
He's got a pretty good sense of humor, and he's involved in most of the laughter in our locker room at any given day. So I think he tried. I don't know that he was quite as funny as he used to be at that stretch, but he was giving a good effort.
The best thing about this story is that it's got a happy ending. Julie is healthy now, sounding the siren last Friday in Carolina. She has 2 messages, one for those fighting, the other for those who are healthy.
Stay off the internet was a big advice. The first thing that you want to do when you hear the news, I think a lot of people's tendency is to run home and get all the information they can, and that's great, but also take that in stride, because a lot of it is, you know, factual or not factual. I think that scared me a lot, and just focus on what can be done, the positives, stay positive. I would just like to urge all women to never let a year go by without seeing their doctor for their yearly test. It's very important. I feel like it saved my life, and I know that it can save others.
After he scored the game-winning goal in Game 7, the series-winning goal against Boston, before he went to do his TV interview right after, he immediately ran in, grabbed the cell phone in the locker room, and called his wife just to tell her how much it meant to him that she could see that. There was not a dry eye in the Carolina dressing room when the players heard, Ron, about that story.
He was one of the stars, as you know, Elliot, of our Think Hockey segments, and one of the men who influenced his life was Tim Hunter, the assistant coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs when he was out in Vancouver.